Hey friends, so the sun is in my eyes. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I think that's cool. So I'm yet again driving to another location for work, because that's how I do. I have to go to many locations. So I wanted to make this video regarding I was watching a live stream by Rise channel, RISE in all caps, and I really like the information that comes through his videos. He's a former TV analyst. He worked in like publications, media stuff, and whatnot. Unfortunately, I don't know his name. Some people want to keep that private, I guess. But so there was a live stream today, and it was regarding, even though this didn't really have anything to do with the content of the video, it was about the Mark of the Beast. So I was trying to find where the correlation was with the Mark of the Beast and the content of the video, but the video was deleted. So I guess I'll just tell everybody, basically it was about an atheist who he had interviewed, and the atheist was talking about his death experience, because we all had near-death experiences, right? But when you actually die, you know, and then you come back to life. So his guest was talking about drinking this water on side of a construction area, and the water basically had, the water was it was the local water which was used for the machines, and it wasn't purified water or spring water for humans. It was just sitting water that's been sitting there for a long time that they put in the antifreeze of construction machinery. So long story short, this guy gets sick. He ends up going to the hospital, so on and so forth. And so as he's in the hospital, he basically finds himself out of his body. He is going somewhere else. He finds himself going to, in his mind, he thought it was the pit of hell, because it was a tunnel, and this tunnel led him out of this box. And sorry, the sun is really on one today. Sun simulator. I navigate. So anyway, he comes out of this box, and then he goes into basically this land, or this area, where he's seeing images of himself from his past and what he's done and whatnot. And he was allowed to see all the things that he's done. And then he comes to a stairwell, a spiral stairwell, and that stairwell leads him to, I guess, an angelic plane, where then he starts to see Jesus himself sitting down in a chair, and Jesus stands up. He walks down some stairs, and then Jesus gets close to him, you know, well, at a distance where if you were to talk, you would spray the person. But he said because Jesus had his face covered with a hood, he couldn't see, but the power that had been inside of Jesus allowed this guy to basically fall on his knees, because he was, you know, I'm not worthy, so on and so forth. Like, he even thought to himself, you know, when he came back to, he was like, how could I have been allowed to be that close to him, when the guy was saying that he, you know, dealt with drugs, he, you know, was a dealer, he sold, he used. He was in money laundering and all this other stuff that we would deem not good, right? So he felt like he was honored to have been through that experience. But he also goes on in this video talking about that he thought he went to hell because of what he did, and punishment and this and that and so on and so forth. And so he was then walking back from this plane of heaven through these spiral stairs, if I'm not mistaken. There is a pit that he looks down, and it's a bottomless pit, and he can hear the screams and echoes of things going on there. And also in the land where he was, he can also hear and see all the things that were going on with other people. So I guess what he was really trying to say was there is something after death. There is something else out there. We don't just die and our souls float to heaven. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting sleepy. I have like a lot of different there's a cab next to me that has 144. Oh goodness, this is funny. So where I'm going at with this message was, I wish that, and not like I know everything, you know, I just kind of speak from the source, because I know the source grants me the gift to really understand and have divine intervention. Sometimes it's a test. When you damn yourself on behalf of the God that does the damning, which isn't our Father, number one. When you go into the Old Testament and you go through Baal and Yahweh's side of the stories, you learn that Baal and Yahweh did not go hand in hand. They didn't work together. They were basically trying to be Prime Creator by acting like Prime Creator, if that makes any sense. And we are vessels of creation. And so if you can think, and I was saying this in the chat room, that we are creation. So creation on its own is free will. Being created was the free will of our Father. He didn't have to create us, but we were created for the same purpose why we are waking up right now and speaking out and doing what we're doing right now, to shift everything into the right consciousness. Consciousness on its own is free will. If you choose to accept it, yay. If you choose to act on it, yay. If you disagree, well, then you disagree. Can't say consciousness doesn't exist. Oh, the sun is killing me right now. It's like extra bright for no reason today at 78 degrees in Los Angeles. Another factor I wanted to weigh in on was it's weird because when I had the Christian mindset, the Christian lifestyle, Christian morals, minus being a gay man, my thoughts and opinions were, I'm not going to hell just because, you know, I was born in this body that I didn't ask for all these challenges, you know. I only asked how to integrate and still be able to have faith and still be able to witness this great gift that we all have, and then witness the changes that are coming. Like, it doesn't exclude, you know, just based on orientation. Like, that's just the outer garment. People forget that that's the whole message Jesus was trying to relay to everyone was, you know, if I touched you, if I talked to you, if I was near you, if I'm teaching you, if I'm, you know, sharing with you the whole heart and the essence of being just pure of your heart, then it really, all this out here, all this stuff, it won't even exist. But it's about whoever bonds themselves to whatever system, and then they basically had signed a contract to that system, because they given their free will to that system. If you are created out of a free, let's just say a free origin, a free will, you were just freely created. Or people even say, you know, our souls chose these bodies, there's a blueprint, a signature, da 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 da. Okay, there's another bucket. There's two buckets here. But long story short, however you were originated and brought into this consciousness and brought into this scenario right now, let's say if I choose to be Catholic, that is a system, that is a whole, let's just say, for example, for lack of words, it's a contract, because you're following the order, you're following that law, and the laws of that Old Testament, which they so have as priority. I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying, if you follow that old knowledge of that system, guess what happens to you when, you know, when you pass on or you have a near-death experience? You go through a learning lesson of learning what is beyond the veil, right? And then you come back to either as a witness to beyond the veil, or you become part of that timeline that you sewn yourself to. So if you're allowing a pastor to tell you about the Old Testament Yahweh, who basically misled all the players in the book, Samson and his strength, or is that's the New Testament, isn't it, Samson? But you had Moses, you had Noah, you had Peter, you had Paul, you had all these people who were deceived. You know, they were told, basically they were whispered to as though they were gods, right? And they acted out on these great deeds, but then their deeds were being hijacked by the serpent. The serpent is Yahweh, and you can't hide that. Then you had all the stuff going on in Babylon, all the human sacrifices and blood sacrifices and animal sacrifices, and there had to have been a close to that. And you have Exodus, and you have all those things that occurred, which basically were to be a contribute to that system. So if everyone in that time were like, what's going on? Frogs are falling out the sky. A ghost is running around killing everyone who doesn't have blood of lambs on their doorways. These are all things that were of that system. And it must have been scary back then to see all these spells and curses actually going into fruition. I'm navigating, but... So, back to the topic, is there hell? And I do believe, like, there are things beyond the veil, because I share the story about my closest friend who passed away 2 years ago, that we were so close in our friendship that when he was dying, I was going with him. So I got to this place through a tunnel, same as how the guy's explaining it, and there's a light, and I didn't get past the light. My friend and a female ended up going through the light, but Jesus had us in his arms. He was big, and we were just little people in his arms. And then he said, Aaron, you have to go back now. And I was like, what? Yep. But I had to go back with all these creatures in the tunnel and these beings that I don't even know who were grabbing at my ankle. And it was just really red and fleshy, and just gross, you know? I'm looking at the traffic ahead of myself. Why does it have to be traffic? I have 20 minutes to get to where I need to go. I think I'll make it. Anyway, it was a very creepy experience because it wasn't a dream, it was out of body experience. And my friend, I ended up getting the news when I woke up with a 107 temperature, a near-death experience, but I was able to get out of it because I woke up. But my friend didn't make it, and don't cry. And then 4 days later, his sister passed away. She was the female that I saw cross over with him. And so, to my opinion, they were twin flames, and they were here together, and twin flames usually can't leave without the other. Like, if one dies, the other goes. That's how I knew they were each other's equal. Yeah, and even last night I had that dream experience that I shared with the last video, where there's a spiral staircase. There's just something about that spiral. And there was a video I was watching earlier today by a new person that I started following, and he was talking about how the soul process, and he was talking about the Fibonacci process, and how the plane is here, and either we go on a spiral upward or a spiral downward. So I'll put that video in the description box below. I love sharing other people's perspectives as well, because it's all truth. And I'm not here to say, oh, there's no hell and don't listen to the gospel, you know, F religion. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is everything's a history book, and religion is like only this much, because you learn that if you learn and study the Gospel of Adam or even Genesis, that's just the story of Adam and Eve. They were not the first here. They were just the first of a certain system, and or a certain matrix, if you may. The sun's killing me. And then you have the Sumerian storyline as well, which overlays the Elohim. And then you have the Anunnaki, which overlays the Elohim. And then you have the Essenes, which no one really knows about, which I heard two sides of the Essenes, like, oh, it's just a hoax, they were the Nazarenes, but you still have the Nazarenes and the Essenes, or who they were the beings that set everything to the land before it became the kingdom of Judah, and then the kingdom of David. Then you had the kingdom of Beersheba. There's so many different establishments that had took place since the beginning of this current consciousness that we're all on a final roundabout to, if you may. This whole fifth root race thing has probably been a 5,000 year journey so far, if you put it that way. And it's going to change very soon. But I made a video a long time ago, and I was talking about how the rapture didn't happen, and I made I guess I slipped the wrong message by saying, I was talking about how you know, we haven't recompensed or repented for those who are in purgatory, and it slipped out my mouth. But it doesn't mean that just because I'm not Catholic doesn't mean that I am supportive of. But I think that any information that any dogma, any, you know, duality, anything that's of a, you know, any clue to any essence of any knowledge or wisdom of our present being, it's the truth. It is what it is. So it was just kind of funny how I slipped out and I said, man, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Otherwise, that whole video would have been great. I had 500 views, and I had like 10 likes, and I had maybe like 50 thumbs down. But people are like, people are not in purgatory, you Catholic worshiper. And I'm like, whoa, simmer down. But for me, having crossed over and coming back, there is a place right now where, you know, people are there and they're going through their own matrix. They're going through all the stuff they told themselves through their whole life experience. They're telling themselves there is hell, so they're, you know, they're co-creating this this place where you go and you torment yourself because, you know, and when you are tortured, our Father, our divine feminine and masculine integration, they wouldn't torture you if you were created out of free will, and you were placed here out of free will, and you made your own choices out of free will. Your deeds are the act of your heart, and those are overlooked. Because who's to trust at the end of this whole timeline, at the end of the day? And the reward is in what you do. It's not about how you've fallen. And I think if people can focus more on what blessings are you offering others, what doors are you opening for others, what insight are you giving to others. Like, that's why I really love this YouTube platform, because it is the best way to speak from your heart and do the act of the Christ conscious movement right now. And it's going to win. Shut up. That's all I really want to encourage people, is like, we gotta stop condemning ourselves and damning ourselves, because that's not our system. Our system doesn't act that way. And also too, to the New Agers, dude, star seeds and indigos and light workers, your whole purpose is different. You may not have been from that system of the origin of Adam and Eve. You're maybe just here to help shift everyone, and then you're ascended literally back to where you came from. That's the belief of many people, and that's the belief that many people feel is going to be happening soon. I'm not certain what I believe. I just kind of leave it out where, you know, I just feel like I haven't done enough, and I will always critique and, you know, stifle about my deeds and my actions and my decisions and, you know, and my, you know, mishaps and my hiccups and speed bumps, because it's not like I'm trying to outdo my good because I knew I did bad. Come on, son. I have to keep adjusting my camera. All I can do is just do what I feel is the right thing right now, and feel good about myself that I did that I was able to step out of the life I thought was normal, and then I stepped into the life that I felt like I had to because I was obligated by family and religion. And then I was into this new place where I'm at, which is just be your soul. Act as if your soul, you know, or walking, talking, breathing, and dancing. That's what we're supposed to do. So can we stop at all this, like, you're going to hell? Because it's not, our Father didn't create all of that, the lake of fire, and it's possible to banish people away if, you know, you use them in vain, or you like these people we watch every day, celebrities, musicians, and whatnot. They've chosen those lives, they've chosen that system, and they've chosen those sacrificial offerings, and because they're in a as above, guess what happens? They finish off in a soul below. Well, they have to go through their own torment because the God that they worship has that system of, you know, what is I was thinking of a word that didn't make sense, like condemnation. Is that a word? I think it is. Anyways, oh, this person stole my parking spot. Really? Anyways, I'll leave you guys to this. I'm gonna have a part 2 about this because 25 minutes is just not enough. Have a wonderful day. I will see you all. I'll probably continue this tomorrow. Bye.